Hey YouTubers, thanks for tuning in to my channel, and we're going to talk about the big question today, which is, should I teach English in Asia? When I say Asia, I'm talking about my experience teaching in the big three Asian countries most people think of when they want to teach English in Asia, which I'm talking about Japan, South Korea, and China. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and it's a great thing. I totally recommend it, but there's also, there's setbacks as well, and it's not for everyone. And in this video, I'm going to try to help you make the decision, should I teach in Asia? Which is a very big step, and it has a lot of repercussions, positive and negative, that you may or may not be aware of. So, to get it started, the first thing I'm going to say is this. What I'm saying is a generalization. Everything here is from my experience, and it is an anecdote. But from what I've experienced and what I've seen others experience, this sort of thing is very common, what I'm going to talk about. So first, an introduction to my teaching experience. I've taught in Japan for 4.5 years. I was in public schools, I was in eikaiwas, I was working for companies, and I've worked for a kindergarten. In South Korea, I worked for a Hagwon, which is a private English academy, and then now in China, I'm teaching currently in a kindergarten. I've taught in Chiba, I've taught in Ibaraki, I've taught in Tokyo, I've taught in Saitama, and a little bit in Kyoto. That was when I was studying abroad. I taught in Incheon in South Korea, and now in Foshan, I'm teaching in China in the south. So let's start off with the things that might scare you away. If you can make it through this, and you're still around after all the negative things I go through, you're probably going to come here, and it only gets better from there. So first, the big negative, which can be, once again, it's a generalization, which can be loneliness. When I first came to Japan, I was placed in Koga Ibaraki for my first professional full-time teaching job. I was working for a public school, and I was working at a middle school. I pretty much graded papers. I, taught classes, and wrote stuff on the board whenever the Japanese teacher needed me to do. Just that. But the big thing there, even though I studied Japanese, it was a very lonely experience. I mean, I could speak in Japanese and I could hold a conversation, but it was very lonely. And the same thing kind of happened in South Korea, where it was a very lonely experience. And that, I think, is partly because of the cultural expectations of working in an office, or a teaching office, in both Japan and South Korea. And from China, I'm still new here, so I can't really say too much. But even though I knew these people, there was always kind of this distance between myself and then the other teachers that were either Japanese or Korean. And because of that, it's very difficult to make friends. On top of that, I was placed in small countryside cities where a foreigner is very, very much looked upon with kind of as a strange oddity, something where people don't really understand you, and the way you act may offend people, even though you're not trying to offend people. And the way you speak, whether it be Japanese or Korean, the way you speak may offend people, even though you're trying to be polite. And that is a big part of language differences. The languages for native English speakers to learn Japanese, to learn Korean, or to learn Chinese is very difficult. And it's considered one of the most difficult languages for us as native English speakers to learn. It requires more than 1,800 hours of study to be proficient within this. That's a lot of time and dedication, and if you're coming here, you should learn the language, otherwise your life will be very, very difficult. On top of that, you have to learn a whole new writing system, and the writing system isn't universally used throughout the three countries. Korean, as you can see in the picture, is written as it is, while Chinese characters are much more complex, and Japanese uses a mix of Chinese and Japanese characters. So the languages are very hard, so this can make communication a problem, not only with making friends, but in the workplace, because you may not be able to communicate that well with your co-teachers, even if they're English teachers. They may be speaking in broken English, depending on the school and the placement you've given. Another thing that you should definitely be aware of when you're teaching is, I would say, long-term plans. Depending on your country that you choose, there may be long-term career opportunities. A country like China is still growing, so there seems to be more of a chance for teachers to get in and grow long-term here. While in Japan, I know people who've been there. They have a master's degree, and they're only part-time teaching at a university, and they're part-time teaching at a kindergarten just to make ends meet at like $1,400 a month. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Research the country you want to know, you want to go to, before you make the jump. So yeah, those are some of the negatives of why you shouldn't go. Some loneliness, language barriers, work expectations on how you should act and how you should communicate, and distances you may have with your coworkers. And it can be very, very hard, but if you can push through all of this, you will grow. You will grow a lot as a person, and the experience will become very much an enlightening sort of way for you to look at your own culture, or if you go to another place, because you'll experience a different way people approach living life in a day-to-day situation. So now that we've gotten over the negatives, we're going to move on to the positives. So this is where we can start to smile and think this is a good choice. You will grow as a person. You will grow a lot, and it will make you more appreciative of people around you, and you'll become much more flexible in terms of dealing with people, because you're going to deal with people that are massively different than you based on their own expectations and their cultural understandings of how life should be carried out. And you can grow with that, and you will grow as a person, which is great. Also, this is a really great chance for you to be immersed within a culture to learn the language. Like I said, learning these languages are very hard, but a really great way to help you learn languages is to be immersed in the culture. So that way you have to use your Korean at the convenience store or at a restaurant, or your Japanese when you're paying your bills, or trying to make an order on Amazon. It gives you a reason to use your language skills, because it's a very practical thing that helps you get by. So it's a very great way to grow as a language learner, and it's a great way to grow as someone who wants to try different food. Japanese food, Korean food, Chinese food, it's amazing. It's so amazing, and there's so many different kinds of food in each country, and they're all very different. And they're all great and wonderful. And that's definitely a reason to go. Because when you try real sushi, or real dak galbi, or some real dim sum from China, it is amazing. And it's just out of this world good. And you'll have no comparisons back in the United States, at least that I know of. And it's truly something that you can only experience in each of these home countries. Another great thing is that you can make friends from not only Japan or Korea or China, but you can make friends from many different parts of the world. I've had friends from Finland, from Hungary, from South Africa, friends from Sweden, friends from the UK, friends from all over the world, and it really makes you, appreciate what it means to be in another country and what it means to be an English teacher. And these people help you get a better perspective on the country you're living in, but also about life and different ideas and thoughts they have. So that's really, really awesome. And I think the last one I would say is that it gives you a great opportunity to travel throughout Southeast Asia. If you're looking to travel to Vietnam or Thailand, Taiwan, the Philippines, any of these countries, it's very, very close and very, very cheap to do. Because if you're doing a public school job, you'll have 6 weeks of vacation depending on the job. And that's a lot of time you can actually use to go to another country, to experience even more culture, some more food, and, grow more as a person. So these are the reasons why or why not you should teach in Asia. If you like this video, give it a like. If you think it was kind of crappy, give it a dislike. Or if anything else you want to say, please leave a comment below in the box. Type it out, and I will do my best to reply and be very thankful. Thanks for watching.